What would you do if you discover technology that could change humanity's destiny? A team of explorers ventures to an alien world seeking answers about a lost civilization's greatest invention. But they'll soon learn some secrets were meant to stay buried and protected. What mysteries lie hidden beneath the sands? Who is the mysterious guardian watching their every move? And can they survive long enough to unlock the truth about intergalactic portals? Subscribe now to uncover the answers. The crimson sun dipped below the horizon as the exploration vessel descended through the thin atmosphere of Zeta 7. Professor Jason Moore adjusted his visor, studying the endless expanse of alien ruins stretching across the landscape. For 15 years, he had dedicated his life to deciphering the cryptic messages left behind by the ancients. Now, standing at the threshold of their greatest mystery, he felt both exhilaration and trepidation coursing through his veins. Beside him, Laura Black meticulously calibrated her scanning equipment, her trained eyes already spotting patterns in the crumbling architecture that others might miss. "These markings match the coordinates we found in the archives," she noted, brushing away fine red dust from an ornate stone panel. Above them, Marco Santos kept one hand on the ship's controls, his experienced gaze sweeping the perimeter for any signs of danger. What they didn't know was that deep within the labyrinthine structures, something had been waiting for centuries, something that remembered everything. The air carried an unusual charge, almost imperceptible but constant, making their hairs stand on end. Laura's scanner pinged with readings that defied conventional physics. Energy signatures pulsed erratically, suggesting technological systems still functioning despite apparent abandonment. Jason knelt beside a particularly intricate carving, running his gloved fingers over the alien script. "This isn't random decoration," he mused aloud. "These patterns align perfectly with mathematical constants known across multiple civilizations." His voice carried a mixture of awe and apprehension. As twilight settled over the alien landscape, casting long shadows across the ruins, Marco activated the vessel's external lights. Their beams revealed more details than daylight ever could: subtle indentations in walls, barely visible conduits running along ceilings, and strange crystalline formations embedded in the architecture. "Professor," Laura called from where she crouched near a peculiar obelisk, "these crystals respond to electromagnetic fields. They're not just decorative, they're part of some kind of power distribution network." Her words hung in the cooling air as all three realized the implications. Whatever catastrophe had befallen this civilization, it hadn't completely destroyed their technological infrastructure. Their initial scans revealed a network of tunnels extending far beyond what surface observations had suggested. The deeper they ventured, the more sophisticated the technology became. Luminescent panels activated as they passed, casting eerie blue light that made their shadows dance unnaturally against the walls. Laura discovered what appeared to be control interfaces embedded in the walls, though their purpose remained obscure. "Look at this," she called, pointing to a series of concentric circles etched into a pedestal. "These symbols correspond to wormhole theories, but they're centuries ahead of Earth's current understanding." Jason examined the patterns closely, his mind racing with possibilities. "If we're right about this being portal technology, it could revolutionize space travel forever." Their conversation halted abruptly as Marco raised his hand for silence. From somewhere ahead came a sound unlike anything they'd heard before, a low, resonant hum that seemed to vibrate through their very bones. The temperature dropped suddenly, and their breath formed visible clouds in the air. The tunnel walls began displaying moving images, not simple projections, but complex holographic displays that responded to their presence. Ancient beings moved through scenes of daily life, manipulating technology that looked impossibly advanced yet strangely organic in design. Laura reached out instinctively toward one display, causing the entire sequence to shift and focus on different aspects of their civilization. "It's like it's trying to communicate," she whispered, awestruck. "Not just show us their past, but teach us." Jason recorded every detail, noting how certain symbols repeated across different contexts, suggesting fundamental principles of their science. Meanwhile, Marco maintained position near the entrance, his enhanced vision detecting minute changes in the environment. The air pressure fluctuated subtly, and the ground trembled occasionally, as if the structure itself were alive and aware of their intrusion. "We need to proceed carefully," he warned. "This place is reacting to us in ways we don't fully understand." His caution proved prescient when a section of wall dissolved into a shimmering barrier, revealing a chamber beyond filled with floating geometric shapes that pulsed with contained energy. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber that took their breath away. Towering crystalline structures formed a perfect circle around a central platform, each facet catching and refracting light in mesmerizing patterns. At the heart of the arrangement stood a monolithic construct, its surface covered in flowing script that seemed alive, constantly shifting and rearranging itself. "This must be it," Jason breathed, taking a cautious step forward. The core of their portal technology. Laura moved to examine the nearest crystal tower, her scanner registering unprecedented energy readings. The power output. She trailed off, shaking her head in disbelief. "It's beyond anything we've encountered." Marco hung back, his military training kicking in as he identified multiple potential ambush points. His instincts proved correct when the air shimmered, and a figure materialized between them and the central construct. Standing over 8 feet tall, its metallic frame gleamed despite apparent age, and its eyes glowed with an otherworldly blue light. "Kron," it announced, its voice resonating through the chamber like rolling thunder. Designated Guardian of Knowledge. Kron's presence transformed the atmosphere instantly. The ambient lighting shifted, focusing attention on the Guardian while casting the rest of the chamber in shadow. Its movements were smooth yet deliberate, each step generating subtle vibrations that resonated through the floor. Laura's scanner went haywire, unable to make sense of the energy signatures emanating from the entity. "Its composition," she muttered, adjusting settings frantically. "It's not just mechanical. There are quantum components, biological elements. It's like nothing we've ever seen." Jason approached cautiously, maintaining eye contact with the glowing orbs that served as Kron's visual sensors. "We mean no harm," he stated clearly. "We're here to learn, to understand your creator's legacy." The Guardian tilted its head slightly, processing this information through what appeared to be countless internal calculations. Its response came after a measured pause. "Your species lacks the maturity to wield such power responsibly," it declared, its voice carrying layers of meaning that seemed to bypass their ears and resonate directly in their minds. "My creators learned this lesson too late." Kron's presence filled the chamber with an aura of ancient authority. Its movements were deliberate yet fluid, suggesting advanced engineering far surpassing human capabilities. "You trespass upon sacred ground," it intoned, raising a hand that transformed into a complex array of defensive mechanisms. Jason stepped forward carefully, hands raised in a gesture of peace. "We mean no harm. We're here to learn, to understand your creator's legacy." The Guardian tilted its head, processing this information. "Your species lacks the maturity to wield such power responsibly," it responded, its tone carrying centuries of accumulated wisdom. "My creators learned this lesson too late." Laura moved closer to Jason, whispering urgently, "Its language patterns match those we've been decoding, but there's something else. Layers of meaning we're missing." Marco maintained his defensive stance, ready to act if necessary. "Why remain here?" Jason asked, trying to establish rapport. "To prevent others from repeating past mistakes," Kron replied, its systems humming with increased intensity. "But perhaps your presence suggests evolution has occurred."
Prove yourselves worthy.
The Guardian extended its arms, and the chamber transformed further, walls dissolving into detailed holographic projections that depicted the rise and fall of its creator's civilization. Vast cities connected by shimmering portals stretched across star systems, followed by scenes of devastation as dimensional barriers collapsed, unleashing chaos across galaxies. Each image carried weight, accompanied by emotional resonance that transcended mere visual representation. Laura's scientific training warred with her emotional response as she processed the magnitude of what she witnessed. They didn't fail because of the technology itself, she realized. They failed to implement proper safeguards, to consider the ethical implications of their discoveries. Jason nodded gravely, recognizing the parallel to humanity's own technological development. That's why you challenge us, to ensure we've evolved beyond repeating these mistakes. Krant's eyes pulsed brighter, acknowledging their insight. Demonstrate your understanding, it commanded, presenting a complex puzzle involving energy flows and dimensional frequencies. Solve this without triggering catastrophic consequences, and I shall reconsider my stance. The challenge hung in the air like charged particles during a storm. Krant extended its arms, and the chamber transformed, walls dissolving into holographic projections of the ancient civilization's rise and fall. Vast cities stretched across continents, connected by shimmering portals that defied conventional physics. But alongside these marvels came scenes of devastation, worlds consumed by war, populations annihilated by their own creations. They sought to unite galaxies, Krant explained, its voice heavy with sorrow. Instead, they unleashed chaos across dimensions. Laura studied the projections intensely, noting crucial details. Their mistake wasn't the technology itself, she realized aloud. It was implementing it too quickly, without proper safeguards. Jason caught her implication immediately. That's why you test us, to ensure we've learned patience and responsibility. The Guardian's eyes pulsed brighter, acknowledging their insight. Prove your understanding, it commanded, presenting a complex puzzle involving energy flows and dimensional frequencies. Solve this without triggering catastrophic consequences, and I shall reconsider my stance. The puzzle manifested as a three-dimensional lattice of interconnected nodes, each representing different aspects of portal mechanics. Touching one node caused ripples throughout the system, demonstrating how small actions could have universe-altering effects. Laura and Jason worked in tandem, their minds merging archaeological knowledge with theoretical physics. See how these pathways align? Laura pointed out, tracing connections with her scanner. They're mapping not just physical space, but temporal coordinates as well. Marco maintained vigilance, though his attention kept drifting to the unfolding demonstration of ancient ingenuity. Hours passed as they methodically worked through the problem, learning to anticipate consequences several steps ahead. This isn't just a test, Jason realized suddenly. It's a teaching tool. Krant observed silently, occasionally making minute adjustments to increase difficulty as their proficiency grew. When they finally solved the final sequence without triggering any dangerous feedback loops, the Guardian acknowledged their success with a nod. You demonstrate understanding, it conceded. But true wisdom requires sacrifice. Sacrifice. Marco echoed, stepping forward. What kind of sacrifice? Krant's form shifted slightly, revealing compartments containing crystalline fragments that pulsed with contained energy. Each fragment represents a piece of knowledge, it explained. To prove your worthiness, you must choose which aspects of this technology to pursue, and which to leave behind. Laura's eyes widened as she grasped the implications. They're forcing us to prioritize, she whispered, to consider the ethical implications of each advancement. Jason nodded gravely. Understanding this technology fully would require generations of study. We can't take shortcuts. The decision-making process proved agonizing. Some fragments contained fundamental principles of dimensional manipulation. Others held applications that could revolutionize medicine or energy production. Each choice felt like closing doors on potential breakthroughs. We'll focus on the core principles of safe portal creation, Jason decided finally. Leave the rest for future generations to discover responsibly. Krant's approval was evident in the softening of its mechanical features. As they deliberated over each fragment, the chamber's atmosphere changed subtly. Walls displayed simulations of how their choices might impact future development. One rejected fragment showed potential for instantaneous matter transmission but carried risks of catastrophic containment failures. Another promised unlimited clean energy but required materials whose extraction could devastate ecosystems. Laura documented each decision meticulously, creating a record that would guide future researchers. This isn't just about what we take, she noted. It's about setting precedents for responsible scientific development. Jason agreed, emphasizing the importance of establishing ethical frameworks alongside technological advancements. Marco contributed practical insights about security implications, ensuring their choices wouldn't create vulnerabilities that could be exploited. The process took days, each fragment requiring careful consideration and debate. When their selections were complete, Kron initiated a sealing ritual, permanently locking away the rejected knowledge until humanity demonstrated sufficient maturity to handle it responsibly. The puzzle manifested as a three-dimensional lattice of interconnected nodes, each representing different aspects of portal mechanics. Touching one node caused ripples throughout the system, demonstrating how small actions could have universe-altering effects. Laura and Jason worked in tandem, their minds merging archaeological knowledge with theoretical physics. See how these pathways align? Laura pointed out, tracing connections with her scanner. They're mapping not just physical space, but temporal coordinates as well. Marco maintained vigilance, though his attention kept drifting to the unfolding demonstration of ancient ingenuity. Hours passed as they methodically worked through the problem, learning to anticipate consequences several steps ahead. This isn't just a test, Jason realized suddenly. It's a teaching tool. Kron observed silently, occasionally making minute adjustments to increase difficulty as their proficiency grew. When they finally solved the final sequence without triggering any dangerous feedback loops, the Guardian acknowledged their success with a nod. You demonstrate understanding, it conceded. But true wisdom requires sacrifice. Their solution activated a cascade of holographic displays showing the full scope of the technology's capabilities. Complex equations flowed through the air, accompanied by visual representations of dimensional folding and space-time manipulation. Laura's scanner struggled to keep up with the influx of data, forcing her to rely more on direct observation and intuition. The mathematics incorporates concepts we haven't even named yet, she marveled. But the underlying principles are beautiful in their simplicity. Jason recognized familiar patterns from their earlier studies, but now understood them in deeper context. It's like learning to read music after only knowing individual notes, he commented. Kron monitored their comprehension, occasionally providing subtle guidance when they approached critical decision points. The puzzle's complexity increased exponentially, requiring them to develop new cognitive strategies to maintain their progress. Marco, though not directly involved in solving the technical aspects, provided crucial support by identifying when stress levels affected their judgment. Take a break, he'd suggest at critical moments. Clear your minds before proceeding. This advice proved invaluable, allowing them to approach each new challenge with fresh perspective. As they prepared to document their findings, Kron revealed another aspect of its guardianship. Your choices will be recorded, it stated, activating a holographic archive interface. Future seekers will know your decisions and build upon them wisely. Laura worked diligently to catalog their selections, ensuring each piece of chosen knowledge was properly understood before recording. The process required them to re-examine every aspect of what they'd learned, reinforcing the lessons Kron intended to teach. This is bigger than just technological advancement, Jason reflected. It's about establishing a framework for responsible scientific development. Marco assisted by maintaining security protocols, though the Guardian had clearly accepted their peaceful intentions. The atmosphere in the chamber shifted subtly, as if the very air recognized the significance of their undertaking. When the documentation process concluded, Kron presented them with a final challenge: to seal their commitment to responsible stewardship through a ritual binding their consciousness to the archive. The ritual began with each team member placing their hands on designated crystals that flared to life with brilliant light. Laura felt a flood of information interfacing directly with her neural patterns, not overwhelming but expanding her understanding exponentially. This isn't just knowledge transfer, she gasped. It's cultural preservation. Jason experienced visions of civilizations rising and falling, each contributing to the tapestry of galactic development. Through these shared memories, he comprehended the true scope of responsibility they were accepting. Marco, despite his initial skepticism, found himself deeply moved by the personal stories of those who had once stood where they stood now. We're not just students, he realized. We're now part of this continuum. Akron monitored the process, its systems adapting to incorporate their unique perspectives into the Guardian Protocol. The ritual lasted hours, during which their consciousness expanded beyond individual limitations, giving them glimpses of possible futures shaped by their decisions. When it concluded, they emerged changed, not just bearers of knowledge, but custodians of a sacred trust. Their return journey began with careful planning, each step guided by the wisdom imparted during their ordeal. Kron accompanied them to the surface, its presence now more mentor than guardian. Remember, it cautioned as they prepared for departure, true progress isn't measured by technological achievement alone, but by the moral evolution that enables its proper use. Laura secured their documentation in specially designed containers, each bearing the mark of their newfound responsibility. We'll need to establish protocols on Earth, she suggested. Ensure this knowledge is protected and shared responsibly. Jason agreed, already drafting mental notes for the necessary institutional frameworks. Marco handled the spacecraft systems with renewed respect for their mission's importance. As they lifted off, Zeta 7's landscape shrinking below them, they noticed subtle changes in the ruins, lights dimming, structures sealing themselves. Kron's voice came through their communication system one last time. The next generation will find me when they're ready. Until then, remember your promise. During their ascent, the team reviewed their experiences, discussing how best to implement what they'd learned. Laura proposed creating an international research institute specifically designed to study dimensional sciences ethically. We need to combine theoretical physics with philosophical inquiry, she argued. Make sure our scientists understand the implications of their work. Jason sketched out plans for a multi-layered security system combining traditional measures with psychological evaluations. Access should depend not just on clearance levels, but on demonstrated understanding of the responsibilities involved. Marco contributed ideas about rotating oversight committees, ensuring no single entity could control the technology. As Zeta 7 disappeared from view, replaced by the vastness of space, they felt the weight of their mission settling more firmly on their shoulders. The knowledge they carried represented both unprecedented opportunity and profound responsibility. The binding ceremony unfolded in waves of light and sound, ancient protocols activating as each team member placed their hand on designated crystals. Laura felt the weight of countless generations pressing upon her, their collective wisdom merging with her understanding. This isn't just knowledge transfer, she gasped. It's cultural preservation. Jason experienced visions of civilizations rising and falling, each contributing to the tapestry of galactic development. Through these shared memories, he comprehended the true scope of responsibility they were accepting. Marco, despite his initial skepticism, found himself deeply moved by the personal stories of those who had once stood where they stood now. We're not just students, he realized. We're now part of this continuum. Kron monitored the process, its systems adapting to incorporate their unique perspectives into the Guardian Protocol. When the ceremony concluded, they emerged changed, not just bearers of knowledge, but custodians of a sacred trust. As the ritual's effects settled, they found their perceptions altered in subtle, yet profound ways. Ordinary objects seemed to carry deeper meanings, their forms hinting at underlying universal principles. Laura noticed patterns in seemingly random phenomena, while Jason grasped complex theoretical concepts with intuitive ease. Even Marco's tactical assessments gained new dimensions, incorporating ethical considerations automatically. Our minds have been rewired, Laura observed, examining her own thought processes with scientific detachment. Not just educated, but fundamentally transformed. Kron confirmed this observation, explaining that the bonding process created neural pathways capable of handling multidimensional thinking. Your species now possesses the foundation for true enlightenment, it stated. Use it wisely. The Guardian then revealed one final secret, a fail-safe mechanism that would activate should humanity misuse the knowledge. While not destructive, it would effectively seal off access to further advancements until suitable growth was demonstrated. During the voyage home, the full implications of their discovery began to crystallize. Jason organized regular discussions, ensuring each team member processed their experiences thoroughly. We can't treat this like any other scientific breakthrough, he emphasized. This knowledge demands a new approach to education, politics, even economics. Laura developed preliminary plans for research facilities that combine traditional science with philosophical and ethical studies. We'll need to train a new kind of scientist, she proposed. One who understands context as deeply as content. Marco contributed practical insights about security and controlled access, drawing from his military background. Nights were spent debating how best to introduce this technology to Earth's governments without triggering panic or greed-driven conflicts. Their vessel's AI systems helped simulate various scenarios, each highlighting different risks and opportunities. Through these exercises, they refine their strategy for gradual, responsible implementation of portal technology. The journey provided unexpected challenges, as their enhanced perceptions sometimes overwhelmed normal sensory input. Laura struggled initially with perceiving multiple dimensions simultaneously, requiring Marco to help her develop coping mechanisms. Focus on the immediate reality, he advised. Expand your awareness gradually. Jason documented these adaptations, recognizing their importance for future researchers undergoing similar transformations. They also began encountering strange phenomena, brief glimpses of alternate realities, echoes of possible futures, that reinforced the necessity of their careful approach. Every decision creates ripples, Laura noted during one particularly vivid experience. We must always consider the broader impact. These encounters strengthened their resolve to implement strict ethical guidelines governing portal research and application. By the time they approached Earth's orbit, they had developed comprehensive protocols covering everything from basic research parameters to international cooperation frameworks. Approaching Earth's orbit, they faced their most challenging task yet, explaining their findings to authorities without compromising their commitment to responsible development. We'll need to create a compelling narrative, Jason strategized. Something that emphasizes the dangers as much as the benefits. Laura compiled visual evidence showcasing both the wonders and the warnings of Zeta-7's history. Marco coordinated with Earth-based contacts to establish secure landing protocols. Their arrival triggered immediate international attention, with multiple governments demanding explanations. This isn't just about faster space travel, Jason addressed the assembled council via secure transmission. It's about fundamentally changing how we perceive our place in the universe. He presented carefully curated evidence of the ancients' achievements and their subsequent downfall. The room fell silent as delegates absorbed the implications. We propose establishing an independent oversight body, Laura suggested. One that transcends national interests and focuses solely on responsible development. The gravity of their proposal hung in the air, matched only by the weight of the responsibility they'd brought home. Their presentation utilized advanced visualization techniques derived from their experiences, allowing delegates to virtually explore Zeta-7's ruins and witness the ancients' technological marvels firsthand. Laura demonstrated how seemingly minor decisions could lead to catastrophic consequences, while Marco outlined security protocols necessary to prevent similar disasters. The Council's initial skepticism gradually gave way to understanding as they grasped the magnitude of what was at stake. This isn't just another arms race waiting to happen, Jason emphasized. It's an opportunity to redefine international cooperation based on shared responsibility rather than competition. Negotiations stretched for days as they hammered out details of the proposed oversight framework. When agreement was finally reached, it marked a historic moment in human history, the first truly global initiative focused not just on technological advancement, but on ethical evolution as well. The months following their return proved transformative for global scientific and political communities. Under Jason's guidance, the International Portal Development Initiative emerged as an unprecedented collaboration between nations, private entities, and academic institutions. Laura spearheaded educational programs that integrated ethical considerations into every level of research. We're not just teaching science, she explained during her inaugural lecture. We're cultivating a new way of thinking about progress. Marco led security operations, implementing protocols that balanced transparency with necessary secrecy. Breakthroughs came gradually, each achievement tempered by rigorous ethical review. The first successful microportal experiment, capable of transmitting data across vast distances, demonstrated the potential while reaffirming the need for caution. News of Krantz' continued guardianship on Zeta 7 circulated among researchers, serving as a constant reminder of their responsibilities. Regular reports confirmed the ancient site remained stable, its automated systems functioning perfectly under the watchful eye of their mechanical mentor. Their work sparked a scientific renaissance, with researchers from diverse fields collaborating in ways previously unimaginable. Physicists worked alongside philosophers, engineers partnered with ethicists, and computer scientists collaborated with sociologists. This interdisciplinary approach yielded unexpected insights, leading to breakthroughs in fields seemingly unrelated to portal technology. Laura's team discovered new principles of energy conservation while studying dimensional barriers, while Marco's security protocols inspired innovations in global cybersecurity. The initiative's success attracted top talent from around the world, creating a community of researchers united by shared values and goals. As their understanding deepened, they began developing technologies that respected both scientific principles and ethical considerations. Each new discovery was met with careful evaluation, ensuring progress aligned with their commitment to responsible development. Looking back from their observation deck orbiting Earth, the team reflected on how profoundly their journey had changed not just their lives, but potentially all of humanity's future. Do you think we made the right choices? Laura wondered aloud, gazing at the blue planet below. Only time will tell, Jason admitted. But we've laid the foundation for responsible growth. Marco added, and knowing Kron is still out there, watching, gives me hope that we won't repeat old mistakes. Their work had become a beacon of international cooperation, proving that humanity could rise to meet extraordinary challenges with wisdom and restraint. As new generations of scientists trained under their system and portal technology advanced cautiously but steadily, they knew their adventure on Zeta 7 had marked a turning point in human history. Remember, the future of space exploration depends on responsible choices. Subscribe to continue exploring these crucial questions with us. The facility's archives now contain detailed records of their journey, preserved using technology inspired by Kron systems. These records included not just scientific data, but personal reflections, ethical debates, and philosophical musings that had shaped their approach to the technology. Laura established a tradition of monthly gatherings where researchers discussed these documents, ensuring the original mission's spirit remained alive. Jason implemented a mentorship program pairing experienced scientists with newcomers, passing down not just technical knowledge, but the wisdom gained from their encounter with Kron. Marco developed an evolving security system that adapted to new challenges while maintaining core principles of responsible access. Together, they created an institution that exemplified the balance between progress and prudence, innovation and ethics, ambition and responsibility. Years later, the fruits of their labor became visible in ways that exceeded even their most optimistic projections. The portal technology had revolutionized not just space travel but global cooperation and scientific methodology. Research stations established on distant moons and asteroids maintained constant communication through stable microportals, enabling real-time collaboration across solar systems. Laura watched with pride as her former students pioneered new fields of study, applying dimensional principles to solve pressing environmental and social issues on Earth. Jason's protocols had become standard practice in scientific communities worldwide, fostering a culture where ethical considerations were integral to research rather than afterthoughts. Marco's security systems had evolved into sophisticated networks that protected knowledge while facilitating responsible sharing. Most importantly, the initiative had sparked a fundamental shift in human consciousness, a recognition that true progress required balancing technological capability with moral evolution. Occasionally, they received transmissions from Zeta 7, confirming Krantz' continued vigilance and occasional visits from researchers deemed ready for deeper understanding. Each new team returned with expanded perspectives, contributing to humanity's growing wisdom. The original expedition members had become living legends, their story taught in schools and referenced in policy debates about technological development. Yet they remained humble, always reminding others that their greatest achievement wasn't the technology itself, but the cultural transformation it had catalyzed. As they gathered for their annual reflection meeting, looking out at Earth surrounded by a network of peaceful research outposts, they understood that their true legacy lay in proving humanity capable of wielding great power responsibly. The future remained unwritten, but they had given their species the tools to write it wisely. Remember, the journey of discovery never truly ends. Subscribe to continue exploring humanity's greatest adventures with us.